All right, everybody, welcome back to the Mission Roll Call Town Hall. As you guys know, my name's Ray Whitaker. I'll be one of your hosts. And of course, as always, Jim, welcome back. Mr. Jim Whaley, CEO of the organization.
Great to be with you, Ray. Lots to talk about today and lots to talk about what we've done, what we're doing, what we're going to do. Just excited. And we have a great guest coming up too.
We do. Yeah. And I cannot wait for that. Should be a lot of things. So let's just talk a little bit of agenda. We got to do the administrative stuff, get that stuff out of the way real quick to make sure everybody knows. We are going to have a special guest. So for those that are here, we'd ask you guys to stay a little bit towards the end. We can absolutely not wait to talk to the individual and, of course, the organization. Very impactful. And many of you last week actually voted, and that's why we picked the person that we did. So looking forward to that. Our monthly survey is up and it's live. So for everybody that's listening to this, or if you watch this after the fact, these surveys are always at the same link. So what we would ask you to do is go and take it. Okay. It's important that you provide your voice and your experiences to help shape what we provide to decision makers. Okay. We don't provide what we think. We provide what you know and what you provide to us. So if you can do that, take a little bit of time today. We would absolutely appreciate that. Our next town hall is going to be on March 11th. Just like every town hall moving forward, we're going to have another guest. We can't wait to see what that is. So it'll be March 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And no matter what platform you are currently on, you can ask questions. So if you're on LinkedIn, you're on Meta, you're on our website, wherever you are, be more than happy. Ask a question. We'll answer. We love the questions that you guys always pose each week when we talk, but also our staff will answer those. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick is we actually have a poll that's going to be up on our website for the town hall. That website is around the 2025 Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report. The question is really, have you guys had an opportunity to read that report? Have you looked at it? And that kind of breaks us into our conversation today, Jim. This one's going to be an interesting conversation just in general. We want to talk a little bit about the 2025 National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report that was just released. What I would like to do, Jim, is kind of pass this over to you just to kind of talk about what did you get from the doc? Because there's a lot, 66 pages on one of the documents. So there's a lot of information in here, but I would love to kind of go through that with you a little bit, see what you pulled out of it, and then also some things that I saw inside of it as well.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks, Ray. And, I think it's important for us to discuss this because it is a huge problem for our nation. And as you know, our folks that follow us, this is always a big priority for everybody who's on this call. And we take our lead from all of you telling us what should we pursue. So it's important to continue to talk about suicide because guess what? The numbers aren't going down. They're actually going up a little bit. So that's alarming. I think the other thing that strikes me is that the majority of suicides are from the ages of 18 to 34 years old. And so full life ahead of you. It's any suicide's tragic, but it's even, I think, more tragic when you think about somebody very young, early in life, making this decision, which is so regrettable, right? And it has such an impact on families and our country. Yeah. And I think the other thing that I take away is that the time frame of suicides, that first year out of service, 3 months to a year or so out of service is the time frame when most of these suicides are happening, of course. So that brings up a whole lot of talk about what we're trying to do, and that's get people plugged in to other VSOs, to get them involved with other people, to make sure we're reaching out, but also making sure that transition is going well. Yeah. So all those things are combined. It's a difficult report to read. I would, like you said, it's very long. It's not real clear in some areas on the numbers, but it's clear that suicide is killing the majority of our veterans from 18 to 34. Mm-hmm. And it's a scourge. The only way this is going to get fixed is by all of us working together and working with partners and bringing this to the attention of decision makers.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Anderson, great to see you. Thanks for being here today. Also, Matt from Retreat for Heroes. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for all that you guys are doing on a daily basis. We love our our partners and our friends out there that are focused on the stuff that we're doing. Nate, I would love for you to pull up this this document a little bit, because we want to talk a little bit about the key findings. Jim, as we talked about, there's a lot in here, right? So like reading through this thing the last 2 days, I read through it multiple times to try to like, hey, what's the important part of the document? And the reality is the entire document. So what I would tell everybody that's here and you're listening today, you know, and we don't want to get on our soapboxes about this, but this is really important, right? Like everybody that is a veteran or you know, has served with somebody or a family member or a supporter, it takes all of us to make change. This is not a problem that is just going to go away on its own. Okay.
Yeah.
We need facts. We need to understand the data, and then we need to move forward with it. I would implore you to go and read this document, take your own, because you know what you read is maybe a little bit different than what we read. And it's probably also going to spark some questions, which it has done for Jim and I as we went through this document and started reviewing it and kind of seeing where things were at. So a couple things that I saw, Jim, on this side is that the Department of Veteran Affairs, as we've heard them say, reducing veteran suicide is their top clinical priority. So like this is what I believe to be obvious, right? Because it's different than having some of the other illnesses and things that we know are taking veterans' lives. This is one of those that we should be able to come up with ways to help folks not choose that route. The other thing to know about this report is it looks like it was from 2001, if I'm right. So 2001 to 2023. So, you know, you always got to backdate it a little bit, right? It's not the 2025 per se. It's going to be the 2023 is kind of that cutoff. And the thing you and I went back and forth on text was the leading cause, right? We went in and we looked at this thing, and I was trying to go back and forth in the document where it talks about suicide's the second leading cause of death for veterans under the age of 45. But then somewhere else, it says suicide was the 12th leading cause for all veterans, right? And then we're trying to roll through this and figure out exactly what that means. And I wanted to kick that back over to you because I think you put it really eloquently about like what that means in general.
Yeah, well, one is, and if you Google it, right? If you ask what the most prominent reason for death for veterans age 18 to 34, it'll pop up suicide. So there's a disconnect in the information. You know, regardless if it's 1 or 2, it's obviously way too high, and it's causing tremendous amount of damage with families, and the loss of life is just so sad. I think the report takes on some tough problems. It's thorough. It looks into it. I would urge everybody to read it, and as you say, take away their own points. I would also urge everybody to share it with those that aren't on this call so they can read it and share it with elected officials, share it with the other veteran support organizations so that we become better versed in all the reasons that this is happening. I would also say that when you look at the amount of data that has been compiled, and then overlay that with the fact that the number hasn't come down, that's when you really start getting frustrated and angry to some degree.
Yeah.
I am buoyed by the fact that the VA Secretary Collins, has said what we're doing is not working. What we have done is not working. We need to change. We need to address this. This is our number one issue. So that's great. And I think this report puts in perspective some of the challenges, but we got to turn the corner on this. We got to stop it. We got to figure it out. And I know that everyone on this call and all of our brothers and sisters are concerned about this. And we think about it. If we can just, I can't help to get out of my mind, Ray. If we could just get a hold of anyone that's getting out of service the first month or two and sit down with them and plug them into the community, have coffee with them, have a lunch with them, bring them around to other businesses, help them with their transition, what a remarked difference that could make. Because we know it's the first month is critical.
Yeah.
That's when you lose connection with the family you had, the Army or the Navy, whatever branch it was. You're in that nebulous period where you're trying to reconnect with maybe friends at home.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect with that. You're trying to find a job. You may have dependents you have to take care of. So it's a lot of stresses. And if we can just figure that out, I think that would go a long way.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Violet, I see your question. If we know someone who needs help, but they're refusing it, what do you suggest the next step is? Our guest that we're going to have today, I want to hold this question to have her answer because this is something that they deal with on a daily basis. So, what I would tell you, Violet, is give us probably 15, 20 minutes. Our guest will be on and we will highlight this message to have her answer that.
Absolutely.
John, thanks for the question. Can you pull the report off the web? You absolutely can. You can do this off the mentalhealth.va.gov. Roger went ahead and linked it down there. Please, by all means, take that and share it, right? As we talked about veterans in general, everybody should read this. It's easy to watch news and, the new, even us, we're going to take a piece of this based off of who we are and what we've seen and what we've dealt with. But it is important that everybody else reads this to just you're going to have a different feeling about what you read or what you don't read. Roy says, we all know someone who has made that choice and is the worst feeling to have wanted to help and it was too late. And this is true, Roy. Unfortunately, we all probably know somebody. And unfortunately for me, I know many, and I wish I didn't. Butch noted, what may help is cut the wait time for our vets. That's an interesting comment, Jim. Any comments on that with just like wait times in general? I know when we did our map overlay, if you remember, so everybody, we're going to back up a little bit and then I'm going to pitch this over to Jim. We had actually taken all the data from the VA and we'd overlaid it on a map. With that map, it was kind of the first time that you went to your primary care doctor, right? So you go to primary care doctor, how many days from the point of you making the phone call were you physically seeing at the primary care? Those times were actually pretty short. We went back to the people that brought it up and they're like, no, that's not the problem. It's the specialty care. So the primary care we're doing well, it's the specialty care that we're having the problems. So we did that. We went back, we looked at the data, pulled it in. We actually, based off of what they kind of have in this guide here for veterans, they talk about heart disease, cancer, chronic lower respiratory, stroke, things like that. These are areas that we put on the map of you going to see a heart doctor or you going to see, like these are the areas that we focused on for the secondary. What came back was the wait times were ginormous. And we even did mental health as an example. Some were good, like some we would call acceptable, just not having a medical degree or anything, but just like, hey, what's okay for me to feel like, is a week okay for me to wait for an appointment? Sure. Is 200 days okay for me? No. Like that is such a long process for that. So, and this is so that's why I think, Jim, I like to kick that question back over to you. I mean, how do we fix that? I mean, because that seems like a really complex issue.
Yeah, I take a couple things away from that, and thanks for bringing that up, Ray. And that map was fantastic, and I hope people can go to our website and find that. I'm sure Roger or somebody can make sure that that's easy to see because it is illuminating to see the differences between your initial, I need to go see a doctor, to a specialist, which sometimes can last months and months and months. And if we're talking about mental health issues, we need to get to somebody within hours or days, not weeks and months. Right. I mean, that's important. I mean, we can hobble around with a bad knee for a little bit, but you can't do that when you're thinking bad thoughts. A couple of things. One is we need to read this report as a community and share it with even veterans that aren't really plugged in, maybe even more so with them, so that they know what they're eligible for at the VA so they can get involved. I mean, we know we have 18 million veterans, plus or minus. Only half are associated with the VA. So many of them could be taking part in the VA and getting the help that they need. So that's one. Two, keep taking the polls because, I mean, January, I testified about these issues and shared it with decision makers. The VA looks at our polls to understand where veterans are in need and what is the priority for them. And we share that with other veteran support organizations.
That's right.
And we do that in a nonpartisan way. And I think that's gaining enormous traction and validity on both sides of the aisle because they know we're not coming in with a preconceived notion. Right. They know that our information is statistically accurate and we're polling people across the nation. So I think that's important. So all of us, just a simple taking the poll, getting involved, sharing this information with other veterans. If there's one key takeaway, please just do that, because we can take the information, use it. We listen to you, and then we amplify. Right? That's the whole mantra of this organization. We listen, amplify. We don't modify the information, and so I think that's key. And information's power. I think the one comment earlier, I mean, just reading this may help you see something in someone who is having troubles that you may not have seen before. And so that's why information is so powerful. So please read it, get a cup of coffee, sit down, and take the time to read it and share it with others, and share it with your buddies and gals that you know, that you've served with, because it's important. And it's important in every age, by the way, but it is so troubling that the majority are young people. And so we need to get on this. And we've done a lot of work on this subject because our members, the people that follow us, want us to do that. It's clear that we should do it, and we're working really hard on sharing this information with key decision makers. And the fact is that they're relying on us for the information. I mean, I've shared this with the team. I was in a congressman's office that I will not name, good person, and we were asking their staff about an important question, and they were Googling, trying to get the answer. Well, good policy is not made by just doing a Google search. You need to have a lot more information. And that's the type of information we're providing with thank you to all of those that are taking that poll information.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the surveys, Jim, and right now I know for some of you guys on Meta, we had a little bit of a technical issue, which is normal. It's the internet. But
right.
Our surveys are open like every month. So every month at the beginning of the month, the very first week, you can go and you can take our polls. So this month we're focused on the Department of Veteran Affairs and kind of the significant operational changes that have happened over the last year and the impact to you, right? There's no better report card that the VA can receive than the report card from you, the ones that are using the services. So, please take this survey. Please point other veterans, their families, right? It's not just veterans that are affected by this. It's also the families, because this helps us provide them information, which helps them make the appropriate change. Again, it's your voice. We want to make sure that your voice is heard. Okay, so there's a lot. Again, Jim, there's a lot in this report. I was thinking all day yesterday as I'm trying to okay, hey, what are we going to talk about? What does this look like? And I was like, man, you can't really make a lot of assumptions because there is a lot of data on top of this report that we need to go through, parse through it, figure out what's important. What are the areas? Mike and his team with the advocacy side, what's important for him, to come together to make sure. And then of course, what are the questions we're going to ask? Because there is a lot of really important questions here that I think come from this of surveying and other stuff that would be very beneficial for folks as they review that. That kind of takes me to the next step. What we really try to do inside a mission roll call of late, especially towards the end of last year and beginning of this year, is to kind of focus on some of these key areas. So one of those is we created this guide to mental health care. I think you and I had talked a little bit about it's really daunting sometimes. And this is not a hit on the VA like they're doing anything wrong, but they're a large organization with a lot of information. So sometimes it's really hard to navigate and get where you're going. Right. And we always talked about trying to create a digital hub that would make it as easy as possible. This article was produced by our team to just kind of talk about a guide. These are the things that you can do. So Jim, I wanted to ask you, I know through our discussions with the VA, they often ask, how we connect with veterans better. How can we get the resources that they need? Why is it important for, for veterans to look at stuff like this to get a better understanding, but also understand that they should go to the VA and at least make sure that check and see if they're eligible, make sure that they have, that they are getting the benefits that they deserve.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, it's there for your service, right? You're entitled to it. Of course, there's a process, right? But every veteran should go to the VA as soon as they get out of service. Some of us waited 20 years. Some of us waited 10. But I think the faster we can do that, the better off we are, because your memory's better. You have some of the data and paperwork that you can share. Sometimes you lose that over a period of time. So it's important to make sure every veteran is doing this and understanding what the benefits are at the VA. It's the largest healthcare system in the world. And in many places, it's the very best care that you can get. Every VA hospital is a little bit different. But we also know that there's very good people in the organization that have spent their life trying to support veterans. And so it's important that we make sure that we share this information, and that people can then go to our website and see some of the ways you can do that, to learn about some of the common pitfalls, to understand. So we work really hard to provide some YouTube videos, as well as going to our hub to find out what's the latest going on in the VA, so that you can be educated about it and not look all over. I think all of us were frustrated when we first got out of the service trying to navigate this stuff. I can't imagine how difficult it was before the internet, because it's difficult now, and we have the power to look these things up. So, and now we're trying to consolidate that even more so on our website to make it easy for people to follow. And while on that subject, we have our community, Veterans Community Network, that helps veterans find a VSO that they can volunteer for, but it also helps veteran support organizations to get the word out to veterans to get involved. And sometimes when you volunteer for an event, you find out something talking to a fellow veteran about the VA that can be helpful, or something that you should be doing that you haven't been doing. So all of those things kind of interlock in the community thoughtfulness that we're trying to put together on our website, and trying to provide this information. And this is part of that, these live streams. I mean, there's not many VSOs that have a live stream to talk about tough issues like this in a live environment. But we feel it's important because, one, it shows that we're authentic. It shows that sometimes we don't have the answers, but we're willing to help you find it. And it starts a conversation, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit on so many things there. I mean, I think the point that we want to make is that don't assume that you don't get benefits. Go check, right? Like that's I mean, and I don't know how many times we have these conversations with folks. And then you have the other side where folks don't believe that they deserve it. And, at the end of the day, you do. Like, you should go, you should check, let them determine that. Don't determine that yourself.
Right.
Have somebody else determine that is the real story here.
Exactly.
Jason, I saw your note. He put Roy's still dealing with a loss of one of his friends 6 years ago. Our thoughts are with you, man. I know it hurts every day. Unfortunately, for some of us, man, we are thinking about those that aren't here for whatever it may be. It may be for them deciding to take their own life, or for those that paid the ultimate sacrifice overseas. So our hearts and our minds are with you, man. I know you're gonna make it through it, bro. If you need anything, please let us know as well.
Absolutely.
Heath, welcome in. So Heath Flanner, from founder of Retreat for Heroes, another thank you so much partner coming in just to check on us, I guess, to see how we're doing. So thank you very much. John Hance down here, thank you. I think fundamentally the veteran is seeking ways to get back to tremendous self-experience in uniform. More important than benefits is the importance of self. Got to drop off for now. Keep up the great work. Thanks, John. We appreciate you being here as always. And I think that's a good point. It's something that we're going to be talking to our guests today about, is really the idea of just connect. Yeah. I think when I left service, that's the first thing that I noticed, right? Coming from a very kind of focused group of people, to then come out, and sure, I have some family, right, which is my better half's side, but I didn't have like a lot of friends that were external to the military, because that's just not,
right.
Didn't have that. So like there wasn't a lot of connectivity, and I found that connectivity through the local American Legion and the VFW and some of these others, where you meet folks, or like at these veteran events, where I start meeting folks,
right,
which helped me realize that like there's other people out there like me, and then I have people that I can talk to if I need something, which is a little bit scary, because you're always thinking people are judging you. And then when you get old, I'm not old yet, so I'm only guessing. But when you get old, I think you stop worrying about that as much, right? Because you just kind of you get used to it. So I don't know if you think the same, Jim, from your
I
experience.
do. And as I've always told the team here, I think veterans are really good about helping other veterans. We're
Yeah.
pretty bad about taking care of ourselves. So we'll drive somebody else to the VA and get them enrolled, but we won't do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Or we'll get
That's
somebody,
right.
right? Or we'll help somebody and we
That's right.
realize we need help. So I think it's also, we let pride get in the way. We let, well, I really didn't get hurt that bad. It really is for some. There's not a finite amount of services the VA can provide. You're not taking away from someone else by
That's right.
going there. And that was a mental hurdle I had to get over. It was like, oh, well, those guys and gals are much more deserving. They're really in a bad shape. I'm not that bad. That's not the way it's designed.
Yeah. Well, and the funny part is if you don't do it, there's a chance
does
the VA
get
will
worse.
lose money because they're not utilizing it. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
just, it's a same way in the military. Oh, you have money in year end, all of a sudden money disappears and it goes to somebody else, you know, and
That's
they
right.
get to use it because you didn't. So that's a good point. Samantha asked, how do we nominate a veteran service nonprofit to appear on the program? Samantha, you can go to our contact us page. Anybody here can do that, by the way. You guys can go there, nominate. What we would ask, the first thing we'd ask, Samantha, is Nate, if you guys could pull up the Veteran Resource Directory. If they're not already part of the Veteran Resource Directory, that's like the very first place that we would ask you to send folks, is have them go there at the same time that you're sending us the contact us page. And then that way we got an opportunity to get them on here. This page is all about veterans. It's all about helping them find the services that they need to transition or do whatever they're doing. So we would absolutely love to have this thing continue to get populated. So we have a couple nonprofits that are in the chat today. You guys should all be on the Veteran Resource Directory. The thing that Jim and I both believe is this is a team sport. There is no such thing as individuals. We have way too many veterans to be treating this as all the nonprofits are on their solo island. It's just not going to happen. We've got to band together, and we know you guys at the community level are doing a lot of this. So please join the Veteran Resource Directory. Help us connect you to veterans. So hopefully that helps with that side. Next, Jim, we'll talk a little bit about Operation Recap. We had a lot of stuff go on. I mean, even though we talked a little bit about January, we had a lot of stuff that happened in January leading into this month, into February. I think the big thing is we talk a little bit on here about understanding the VA claims timeline, 7 common mistakes of the VA paperwork. We're talking about focus area for transition gap, which is a great, you can kind of see the series there, the transition gap part 1 and part 2. And this is basically veterans and their families telling their story about them transitioning and some of the difficulties that they had. Jim, I wanted to ask you, even though we had a lot of stuff going on from your seat, what was 1 or 2 key things that you felt like we did in January you wanted to share?
That's a real hard question because so many things on that chart were so important. I take a lot. We've been doing this for a while now. And even when I read what we produce and send out, I'm learning stuff like 7 common mistakes. I mean, that was important for me to read, to understand that. I think getting the transition gap piece was important as well, to understand where are these gaps when when a family transitions out of the military. Because often we just think about the veteran themselves.
That's right.
But there's a whole other second and third order effect of those things when a family moves. Job creation, trying to find a job, kids out of school, kids leaving their bubble and now going to a different place. All those things have an impact on the transition and adds to the stress to a family going through that process. And as we all know, it's not a great job market. And that's a hard thing to do. And so all of those things I think are important. So, and I think to me, the way the team came together, taking the information that we were getting in polling, understanding what was important in front of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and us being able to testify on those key bills that were on the agenda, and being able to triangulate that with polling on information we've heard through discussions with different veterans and their families, working with other veteran support organizations, and I'll stop. But the other thing I would add is when we went to the Veteran Network, the VSO network, Uh, some of those are big organizations, some of them
That's
are
right.
small, and some of those small ones just don't have the capability or depth to advocate on their own, and that's what we're here for. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to have those relationships, because we have a great reputation of being able to provide this information and inform. We do more informing than we actually do advocating,
That's right. Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
education
That's
is
right.
what we're providing. We're letting them make their own decisions. We're not going and say you have to choose A. What we're trying to do is make them better educated, understand what their constituents wants, which is veterans and their families, and put it in context of the impact that those decisions make. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important.
Yeah. And that's why our 4 pillars are, shaped as that. I mean, a couple
Right.
comments on that is that, I think what we've learned is, there's this part where you want to be good at the thing that you have, right? And I think both of us living in a life of military and then business in general, your drive will often want you to drive and make things bigger and try to do more things, because the more things that you do, then the better you have to present to people, right? Whether it's development funding, it's fundraising, whatever it is. And in many ways, we have kept this in line with those core values of our pillars, which is connect, educate, inform, and empower, because that line is kind of, we talk about the triangle a lot inside the organization, where veterans are one piece, MPOs, VSOs are the other piece. And then down here in the bottom right is this advocacy, but that advocacy happens through empowerment. And it's not just our empowerment, right? This is the empowerment of veterans empowering themselves, families empowering veterans, the
Yeah,
supporters empowering, VSOs empowering. And then of course, we as an organization also look at those top line things to make sure that we're educating. And there's a flow that's just going back and forth,
exactly right.
which is a gap. I mean, it's something that we continuously see, and it's not an easy fill. So an organization that's at this lower level, that's impacting homelessness or food for veterans, or whatever that thing may be, it becomes a really difficult thing to be trying to reach all the way up and spend those resources to
Yeah,
do up here, when you really need to be focused at this lowest level, turning and helping the veterans that you're doing.
that's right.
And that's where I think we've made that conscious decision as an organization to, let's concentrate on these relationships.
Right.
Let's make a bond with these. So great. Okay. Let me make sure there's no questions over here. Okay. Good to go. Okay. So next, Jim, we want to talk a little bit about the Veteran Connection Network. As you know, we launched that mid last month. For those that don't know, the Veteran Connection Network is meant to be a space for not only Mission Roll Call, but our nonprofit partners. So for those that are on the VRD, we're starting this process now. You have the ability to put up events and then use the volunteering system that's already there. That's less money you're paying for resources that you now can focus on veterans at the local level. You can see here, just as an example, for those that are in the North Carolina, Fayetteville area, we've got our relationship with the Woodpeckers. They've been kind enough to offer us lots of different things throughout the year, throughout their season, for folks to come and enjoy that. And of course, we share that with the local nonprofits that are in this region. So, Jim, I think I ask you this each week. I think you put it a little bit better than I do in many ways, but we always talk about how important the VCN is and how important our relationships are with VSOs and MPOs. What does having a system like this do to our relationships, and how does it positively impact VSOs, MPOs?
Yeah, it's a game changer, because up to now, a lot of these organizations were trying to get the word out on their own. And now when we bring it together, it has a reinforcing effect. It's mutually beneficial for everybody to be on that. It gives the opportunity for people that are veterans or just getting out of the service or been out for 20 years to say, you know what, I want to give back. I want to get involved. I want to get reconnected. And they can go to this site real easy and determine either geographically where they want to be involved, or maybe it's around a subject. Maybe they want to get involved with food insecurity and bring their team or bring their family and do an event. Nothing makes you feel better than in helping other people.
That's right.
And I think by doing this and doing it in a way that is really us helping other veteran support organizations and highlighting them and telling their story and bringing them on in these podcasts and bringing them on into this live stream to talk about what they're doing, I think is important because, veterans today want to get involved in a variety of things.
That's right.
1 month it could be this and another month it could be that. And there's certainly a lot of need out there for volunteers. So this is a way that you can share that with other friends and family. You can, if you're in the business world, you could share it with your team, and maybe you could do that as an offsite for a team building event or what have you. But to me, I think this is it's a force multiplier, right? It really makes a difference, and it's free. I mean, we're not charging any of these organizations to do that. We're doing it because we know tide's going to raise all the boats, and that's the whole philosophy here, is to help all these organizations and do it in a way that's going to be impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that about just us, and then the team in general, is that mindset of, let's collaborate. Through collaboration, you get success, which ultimately impacts veterans and their families, which gets us to an end state, which we all know is super, super important.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I want to talk. I'm super excited today. We always love. I think if I could just talk to other nonprofits and veteran service organizations that are crushing it across the, where veterans are at worldwide, it would be fulfilled. Like that would be the highlight. And obviously I've worked with each other for a long time. So that's the case. Today's guest is going to be a special one. One of the things inside of special operations, when I was retiring, there was these buzzwords that were kind of starting. And I saw this on their webpage when I was kind of going through and looking at, what they did many months ago and then leading up till now. These terms are like reintegration, rehabilitation, and resilience. Each of these terms means a little bit different and are a little bit unique based off the person you ask. Like, what does this mean and why do you do it? And part of the reason special operations did many of these is because it needed, right? There was issues, there was problems, and these terms kind of became the guiding pillars of what SOF did to make sure that they were doing everything they could, not only for the service member, but then of course also their family. So today I'm happy to introduce Kerry Irvin. She's the CEO of Operation Healing Forces. This is an organization devoted to not only those principles, but so much more. So Kerry, welcome to the Mission Roll Call Town Hall.
Hi, thanks so much, Ray. Jim, I really appreciate the fact that you've had me on today. I can't think of a more pressing and more critical conversation to be a part of, so I'm really honored to join you today. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I know, unfortunately, we had to reach out to you a couple weeks ago for one of our own family members. So, thank you guys for what you do. It means a lot to us. Our family members mean a lot just inside of our team locally. So we know that you guys are out making a true impact, and we can't look forward to it. So I would love, Kerry, to start off with you, just kind of like an understanding, so everybody kind of understands what Operation Healing Forces does. Like what is your day-to-day or week-to-week look like?
So Operation Healing Forces, we are a national nonprofit, and we specifically serve our nation's special operations forces, those individuals that live their life at the tip of the spear. And we serve not just the warrior, we serve their family members as well. We serve the veteran, we serve National Guard, we serve Reserve, and we serve their caregivers as well. Wounded, injured, ill, families of the fallen. And we do it through two main pillars. We have a therapeutic retreat pillar where we provide not just a retreat for the warrior, but also for their life partner. We don't believe that healing happens in a silo, so we make sure that they have that partner alongside with them for that journey of healing, because oftentimes the partner needs the healing journey every bit as much as that warrior or veteran does. And then we also have our second main pillar, which is our special ops additional resources. And this is where two of our most important critical needs programs are, and that is our immediate needs grant assistance for hardships and crises. It's also where our benevolent support lives. We provide about $1 million last year in grants for those areas. We also have a very robust transition assistance program where we really focus in on that 12-month prior to and 12-month after that transition period, because we know, as I heard Jim allude to earlier, those are the highest risk for suicide. And so those two pillars that I just mentioned, the therapeutic retreats for the couples, the therapeutic retreats for the caregivers, as well as our additional resources where we really work on those immediate needs, hardship, and crisis, these are how we get left of boom. This is how we really try to enhance protective factors so that hopefully we're dealing more with bolstering families and helping them thrive rather than really getting into those risk factors and really getting in those moments of crises. We are here for those moments of crises. And as you alluded to earlier, we'll step in. We're very agile and able to do that. But our focus truly is on trying to make sure that we can get left of boom and wrap around support services so that when these families are going through life and going through these difficult journeys, they have that support already enmeshed in their day-to-day.
Yeah, no, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think part of it, just in a general, we talked, earlier, just this idea of connecting, right? Like that's step one is just the connection. From that, all other things will hopefully start to fall in place. And for those that are listening and watching, if you guys have questions for Kerry around these subjects, please by all means ask, because that's part of the reason that she's here. Kerry, I do want to go to. I told you I'd probably do this, so let me apologize. I do want to go directly to one of the questions because I know Violet's probably been waiting to hear this answer. So Violet asked, if we know someone who needs help, but they're refusing it, what do you suggest the next step is?
So first I want to say, Violet, I appreciate the fact that you're even recognizing this and that you are empowering yourself to try to step in and intercede on the behalf of your friend, colleague, family member, whomever it might be. First and foremost, you're not powerless. It is difficult. It's very, very difficult, and we deal with it often. And I heard, Ray and Jim alluded to it earlier as well, that oftentimes it's the person who needs it the most is the one who says somebody else needs it more than I do. So when you're dealing with someone, when it is maybe even an outright refusal, I think the thing that helps us the most in our work with individuals is trying to understand where that refusal comes from. So Violet, what I'd recommend is really working with that individual and asking those open questions, making sure that there is no judgment in those, and asking, is it something that's related to a perceived stigma? Are they worried about it impacting their career? Is it fear? Is it that sense of loss of control? And those understanding which of those pillars it might be that's leading to that refusal is very helpful in understanding the next step. And that next step sometimes can just be sitting alongside them as they make a phone call to get that help. Sometimes it is making that phone call for them. Sometimes it's driving them to get that assistance. Maybe it's childcare and providing childcare, because that is a huge barrier that we find. We provide a lot of childcare grants to be able to ensure that people who need it are able to attend counseling sessions. So really looking at what is the barrier and trying to help remove that the best you can. And I will say that doesn't always work. Right? We're living in reality, and that does not always work. Sometimes you just have to be present. Isolation is one of the biggest risk factors. So when we talk about connection, and I love that we've already heard about this so much today, but connection is prevention. Connection is risk mitigation. And so just maintaining that connection, doing those regular check-ins. But I would also caution you to be very aware of when that refusal and when that hesitancy might turn into critical mass. And if you come to a point in time when you have true fear that your friend, your colleague, your family member may be about to injure themselves or, commit suicide, then I think that it's very important to know the signs. And when we're talking about that, we talk about on our team SAVE, S-A-V-E. And I think the VA uses this acronym as well. So it's signs. S is signs of suicidal thinking, understanding that. Are they talking about hopelessness? Is there anxiety, agitation, feeling like there's not a reason to live? Are they expressing this? Is there, outrage, anger, engaging in risky activities that they previously had not done, or actually just kind of having that sense of calm after all of these things. So that also in and of itself can be something that indicates this person has made a decision. So then you move on to A, and that's asking the most important question of all. are you thinking of killing yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard question for some of us to do, but it's a critical question to ask. And you have to ask it, and then you have to just be quiet. You have to be quiet, and you have to be comfortable in the silence that may come. And you have to also empower yourself to accept that what their reaction may be. And then, Violet, I think that you validate when you ask that question. Maybe they say, no, I'm not, but, and then they tell you what's really going on. So you're asking these questions. You're like, I understand things have changed. You seem different lately. You seem more depressed, more isolated, whatever it might be. Validate. That's where that V comes in. Validate that person's experience and let them understand that, you understand, you're not passing judgment, you're here to join alongside them. And then the next thing is E, encourage, right? To encourage them to take the steps to treatment. If that doesn't work and you still feel like it's critical time, you have got to reach out and just forget about privacy for that person, or are they going to get mad at me? If you think that they're at a critical juncture, you're going to have to reach out and dial 988. Right? So 988 is the Veteran Military Crisis Line. And press 1, it's option 1, and that takes you directly to somebody that can help you. Obviously, 911 is where you think it's imminent danger. 988 is to talk to somebody that can help. If you want to text, you can text confidentially. It's 838-255. So again, I applaud you, Violet, for even reaching out with that question. I think that makes a big difference, and it says a lot about your capacity for compassion for this individual. I hope that helped, but I know that the team here is going to have my contact information. So please feel free, anybody listening in, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to go more in depth with you as well.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. That was way
Wonderful.
more than we were expecting, for sure. That was phenomenal.
It's a critical question.
Yeah, it is. And it's a tough question too, to answer just in general, which is good because we had somebody follow up. Gerardo said, so should we just write out, ask them? And I want to start this first. Let me start this answer. Violet asked, just in case you weren't here, is that the person does not want any help. They don't want to talk about it. Like, they have completely pushed away from that idea. What I can tell you is, before you write out ask, the first thing is, are you showing the signs, or are they showing the signs? And then can you point them to help with a professional, somebody who is used to dealing with this, right? Because they're going to be a lot better equipped than you are. But if you're in a Violet situation, at the end of the day, we don't want anybody to take their life. So what Kerry's talking about here is, hey, we've already moved past the opportunity to ask this person to talk to Kerry or her staff or an organization that deals with this on a daily basis. It's you and them. And in that case, you can use an acronym like SAVE to be the person that steps in and you start that process, right? We had a guy that was that's still with us, like, phenomenal guy. His name's Don Lagoon. We have a couple articles that he's written, and he's an older gentleman, and he's been dealing with mental health challenges for 50 years. I mean, it's unbelievable to just talk to him. And one of the things that he repeatedly says over and over and over again is that all I really need sometimes is somebody to listen. I don't need you to tell me what to, just listen. So I think that's really what Kerry, and of course, Kerry, I want to kick it back over to you because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I wanted to make sure I make that differentiator between what Violet was asking versus what possibly could be different with Gerardo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point to make. And I think that, it brings us to the point that if we want to change outcomes for the better, we have to build systems and communities where it's easier to stay connected than it is to become isolated, because isolation is where risk grows. So I think it's really important that these individuals who are concerned are making sure that they are staying connected to that person that they're concerned about. And then also offering up opportunities. And, I heard y'all talking earlier too about, the VFW, about, all of these different organizations that you can become a part of, you can volunteer with. That is building a community. And we know from our research at Operation Healing Forces that peer connection is one of the largest reductions for risk that we have. We have something that some people may call a tagline. We call it, our touchstone. It is how we live and how every one of our programs is. And it's creating bonds that cure. And whether that bond is a connection to a peer, someone who, even if they hadn't been in the same battle before, maybe if they weren't even on the same deployment or don't even have, maybe not even the same branch, you understand that same human connection. You can relate to that same human emotion, even if you weren't in the same battle. And so that emotion of maybe losing somebody, whether in combat or whether from invisible injuries, chronic pain, being absent for the birth and death of family members, missing milestones in your family and feeling so separated from those that you love. That's a human emotion that we can all connect to, and especially veterans. So when we're talking about building communities and creating bonds that cure, at Operation Healing Forces, we really lean heavily into that peer connection. And that's the basis of our small therapeutic retreats. We keep them small by design because we want that really critical connection to happen organically during that week period that these 4 couples are there together. They're breaking bread together. They're sitting by campfires together. They're sharing stories, and organically, these conversations come up. And we do it by design where we don't bring individuals from the same units either, so that they feel more free to talk about it, not worrying about it getting back to people they work with or up the chain of command. We want them to have that free access. And we believe very fully that not just peer connection, but connection to resources. And that's why I think the VCN is so important, because it can be overwhelming when you go on Military One Source or on the VA to try to find assistance. It's there. We know it's there. But sometimes when you have so much at you and you're already feeling overwhelmed, it's really hard to even continue moving forward. And when you think about, there's over 40,000 nonprofits that are registered with the IRS that state that they're helping military and veteran communities. That's really overwhelming. So what you all are doing, and I'm so glad we're partners with you, but what y'all are doing at Mission Roll Call is streamlining that. And you're providing an opportunity to be that dot connector, and sometimes in a critical moment. And I think that's really important, especially since the data was clear in the 2025 suicide report that most of the veterans who died by suicide were not recently engaged in VA care. And that's not really a criticism of the system. It just means that prevention has to be layered. It has to be layered. You can't just rely on the monolithic VA system to take care of our veterans. It has to be community organizations. It has to be peer networks. It has to be family support structures. And it has to be all of us as a community coming together to bolster each of those layers.
Yeah. No, that's
Exactly.
great. Yeah, that was great. And I think your research is spot on, because I give a lot of credit for me transitioning and what I had with Team Rubicon. I mean, they definitely going out and tearing houses down with a bunch of other veterans for people that had natural disasters was like, I was like, oh, okay, I can be me still. Like I'm not like, wow, this is like, and then of course everything spread American Legion. Then it was like, oh, let me go to this group and that group, and that, that thing. So I love what you guys are doing, and really all the nonprofits that we work with, but especially what you guys are doing with that mindset, because we need that. What I do want to talk about, Kerry, for your another part of yours is like a lot of folks that would want to reach out, that would want to connect with you, whether they're a veteran, we're going to provide stuff after the fact, but where's the best place? Where would you want folks to go? Social site? You want them to go to your website? Like where do you prefer folks contact you?
So I obviously, I'm very open to anybody reaching out to me via email. It's, by my email address, and I'll give that. But I think our website is just a gem. We have completely revamped that recently to really talk about those 3 R's that you talked about earlier, about, resilience, reintegration, and rehabilitation. And it is different for every single person. There are 3 R's, but we understand that each individual coming to us is very unique. And so we structure which of those R's we're working with them on very, very differently. So that's, operationhealingforces.org. My email can be found on there as well, and it's kerry.irvin@ophf.org. So, Oscar Papa Foxtrot Hotel.org. You can certainly reach out to me on that as well. But I would love for people to, understand that we're here. Last month, just in January, we saw the largest spike in mental health care support. So remember, I told you one of our other pillars is those financial grants and that critical crisis support. And we do a lot of mental health care in that sector. But last month, we had 39% of the cases that came to us as immediate needs were for mental health care. That was incredible. And 6 of those were critical cases. So more than one a week had reached mass crisis point in time. 41% of our budget went to, or for our month's budget, went to mental health care support. And I think there's a lot of reasons why we're seeing such a big spike. And that is a big spike, because if you look at last January, we were at 7% of our budget was spent on that.
That's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. I like to think that maybe it means that we are doing a better job as a community in coming together and reducing perceived stigma, so that maybe it's opening up avenues for help seeking. That's what, in my rose-colored glasses, that's what I would like to think.
Right.
What I think is what's really happening is when I talk to people and they say, oh, isn't the war over? It's been over for years now. Is maybe we're not operating at such a high op tempo. So the active duty warriors and those veterans who are either newly veteran or, have been veterans for a while, things are slowing down a little bit. And so that self-reflection is coming up. Things are bubbling up to the surface. Things at home are bubbling up to the surface. It's really easy to bury things whenever your op tempo is so high. The spouses don't want to bring it up because you know that your loved one is about to deploy anytime. The deployed members, same thing. So you don't really have a lot of time to unburden yourself and really dive deep into what's going on inside households. So I think that that's playing a really big part in what we're seeing as a rise. And of course, coming off of the holidays is always difficult for individuals who are suffering through mental health or behavioral health crises.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, Kerry. Jim, did you have any questions for Kerry from your side?
Well, first, just thank you for what you're doing. I would say that even this just conversation, somebody that's listening, somebody that will listen as we send this out, it's going to save a life. Walking us through that process of save, I think, was so important. We all remember hearing it, but to have you in such an articulate way outline that, I think, was vital. And understanding we all have a role to play here to help break the chain of events that lead to the accident, right? As a former Army aviator, we learned about the chain of events that happen to get you to the accident. And it's that same type of kind of analogy, I guess I would use for someone who's thinking about suicide. There's key indicators along the way, and you outlined them very well of what those indications could be and how you could help cut it off. And I think the importance of just getting involved with other organizations and volunteering and getting that tribe and filling the void that happens when you transition. And even the best transition is a difficult one, because now you're doing something completely different with different types of people that really don't know what you've done. Right. And you have to start all over again, building your reputation and working in corporate America or for a small business or even for a nonprofit. It is a process. And I think continuing to have those connections, either with a small organization or a large one, is so vital and so critical to do it early, not to wait till things start unraveling at home, that now it's like crucial. Right? Or we're hitting critical. I mean, if we can get in front of it. And that's why I think your site, our site, working together, sharing this information is so important to veterans and their families. And, sometimes you have to, we've all done it. We've all had to grab a friend someday and go, are you sure you want to go down this path? Because I'm thinking you might want to do this. That's a good thing. That's what friends do. Right? We all need sometimes somebody to just grab us and say, come on. So I think I think what you're doing is beautiful. It really is. It's making a difference, and we're proud to have you on the show, but also to help promote what you're doing and get others to get involved with what you're doing, because it's saving lives. Simple as that.
And it's needed. I mean, at the end of the day,
It
it's
is.
needed, right? Like that's the, I love the positivity that came in what you said with, we hope that more people are finding your services, and that's the reason. But again, you read the reports, we look at it, there's this other side of me where I always have I hope it's getting better, but then there's like this other side where every day it seems like over the past year, not every day, let's not get crazy, but at least once or twice a month, I'm now learning of somebody that I serve with that has chose a different route for their life. And then now I'm doing something with their family and trying to pick up pieces. And I think that's not something that I saw 5 years ago. No. Certainly not. Where now it's just like, it's way more, it's way more. And the stigma could have released some, but you still know if that person's there, based off of that.
I think you're absolutely right. And we have to live in a world where we are evolving towards hope. We cannot lose sight of that. But as individuals who are, I think we have a fiduciary responsibility as communities. I mean, these individuals that serve and sacrifice on behalf of us all, we owe them. I truly believe that we owe them to do our due diligence to try to ensure that we're creating protective factors for them. And, suicide prevention has to live where people live. It has to live inside families. It has to live inside relationships. It has to live inside trusted communities. And that's all of us. And we all bear a part of that responsibility. And I think most people want to help. I think that things like this really empower people because we aren't always educated on how to help. That's why Violet's question was so powerful, is because you can tell she wants to help. And I love that she's trying to find out what's the best way to help, because the needs do evolve, and everybody is different. So their needs are different. But that's why I think as a nonprofit, it's my responsibility to lead my team in a way that evolves to meet the needs of the community that we're serving. And that's why we get their voice. We do our surveys. We gather the research and the data so that we make sure that we're not providing assistance for, like you said, Ray, things that were happening 5 years ago are not really what we're seeing today. We have to evolve with them. We have that responsibility. But it has to live where people live. It has to live within our families, communities, and relationships.
Absolutely. Well, Kerry, we appreciate you. Thank you so much I know it was kind of last minute. I think we reached out to you last week. And it's only because we had one just a couple weeks ago, but we absolutely love that you came here. We love the work that you guys are doing. We look forward to the relationship that will continue to move forward between Mission Roll Call and Operation Healing Forces for times to come. So thanks again for coming out and hanging out with us today.
Yes,
thank you. It's truly an honor. I appreciate the invitation.
All right, we'll see you.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, Jim. So what a great show, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of data. I'd like to turn it over to you for any final comments for those that came and kind of hung out with us today.
Yeah, well, today was powerful. I think moving for all of us, right? I mean, we've all lost a friend or two. We've known people that have struggled, and hopefully today's discussion reinforce the importance that all of us have in this community, this family of ours that are veterans and their families, and understand that there's great people like Kerry and her team that are really making a difference in this world. But all of us have a role to play. If this was an easy problem to solve, suicide, homelessness, somebody would have solved it. But it isn't. So we as a community have always made sure that the mission got done. And our mission, I think, is to make sure that we do our very best to support each other, to educate each other, to reduce this to zero, suicides. And we're only going to do that by working together, sharing this information, getting involved, sharing our voice, volunteering and supporting organizations. You can go to our site, look at other veteran support organizations, support them. donate money, donate time, share their website with others. If we all do that and we can empower the 18 million veterans that make up our country and their families, that's a powerful group of people that can make a difference. And so I just say that we work together and get this job done and support each other the very best we can. I mean, I loved what she had to say. I love her passion. And you can think about that team working so well together. I think about our team working so well together. And if we can just harness that energy and keep moving forward, we're going to solve this. I'm confident of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jim. And you're right, man. We definitely appreciate the conversation today, although a tough one, because you never, nobody likes losing folks that they serve with that ultimately became their brothers and sisters or a family member in some cases. So we appreciate that. For everybody that's here today, as always, we appreciate you guys coming out. We appreciate the support and understand that, you know, what we do on a daily basis is for you. And I would have to say that almost all nonprofits have that same mindset, right? We're moving towards a drum as fast as we can. For us at Mission Roll Call, we appreciate everything that you guys do, the fact that you take our surveys and our polls and all of that, because again, your voice is the voice that we want to deliver to make sure that the right change is being made. So Matt, the rest of the folks that come in, if you guys want to connect with us, I posted up the contact us form. Please reach out to us. You can also find our information on the website. Don't be nervous to reach out to us, right? It's the one thing that we absolutely love doing. I love reading through the emails that come in each day that we're there. So for those that serve, thank you so much for your service. For those that are serving inside nonprofits, thank you for what you're doing every single day in your local communities. For families, thank you so much for letting us borrow your loved one for their service. We'll see you guys back here on March 11th, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you all.
All right, Jim, we'll see you.